Hi, I'm Kadeja with Amalgam Digital TV, and we're here with Eternia. Just want to start off by asking you just a few questions. Like, how did you get started doing music?
Well, I mean, technically my mother had me up in church when I was 5 years old. But I stopped singing the minute I started rapping, so shh, Eternia does not sing. I started rapping when I was like 8 or 9. I started jumping on stages probably around 15, and I've been doing it ever since. So, I mean, I've been performing for most of my life. No.
Well, At Last was entirely produced by the Canadian producer Moss. How did you come along? Like, how did you work with him? How did you go about that?
Moss and I met summer 2007. He saw me perform, and based off that, he was like, I want to do a whole record with you, which was awesome. November 2007, we recorded the first track, which was 32 bars, and the rest is history. The cool thing about him is he kind of had to, it's an uphill fight to convince people to see what you see. And what he saw in me was a dope lyricist that could make potentially a classic record. And I don't think his peers might have seen that yet. So for him to say to the world, yeah, I've worked with Ghostface, yeah, I've worked with Primo, now I'm working with this girl Eternia and she's dope, that takes a lot of guts and a lot of courage, and I'm so glad he did it. And I don't think I let him down.
Well, when I listened to your album, At Last, your rhymes kind of reminded me of a battle MC, so how would you describe your sound?
I get that a lot, actually, and it's funny because I think that's more of a bravado voice. I come from my diaphragm, but my actual content I don't find to be, some of it is like that, some of it's like battling, but a lot of it is very personal. So it's almost like when Ghostface does a love song and he still sounds like he's like, yeah, but he's doing a love song. It's me. So, I mean, I would describe myself as a life MC. If you're asking me how I describe my music, it's just really all about, it's all about life and everything that is involved with life, you know?
Do you feel people underestimate you or underestimate your talent as an artist because you're either white, female, or both?
I'd be lying if I said no. But that's usually only before they see me perform. And I find that after they see me do what I do, you know, talent is talent is talent. So it's kind of like they forget all the things that made them kind of doubt me, and they just are like, yo, you can spit. So I truly believe that true talent and true ability supersedes all that, but it takes kind of shoving it down people's throat for them to even give you the chance to do it. But once they give you the chance to show yourself, they're completely 100% open and they feel you, you know? So it's just, you know, just like the album. It's like people might not know me, Eternia. They might not have heard At Last, but when they do, they're like, oh, she's dope. But it's just like getting them to listen. Sometimes that's the hard part.
Well, Explain magazine says you're Canada's dopest female MC. So how would you describe yourself as an artist?
I would never say that. You know, I mean, the only reason why I would never say that is because I have a lot of female MC friends that kill it. I would just describe myself as, that's hard. I'm just a life MC doing my best to portray accurately what's going on in my head and my heart and what I see around me. And hopefully with flow and delivery and wordplay and lyrics that people can relate to and that is still dope. You know what I mean? It has to be dope. So, yeah, I'm just an MC. I'm not a femc. I am an MC. What I do has nothing to do with my gender, very little. That's important.
Well, throughout the album, there's a lot of personal issues, well, such as like alcoholism and family issues. So, why did you make it so personal?
I don't know how to not. Like, I'll be really honest with you. I know how to write about what I go through because it's what I go through. So it's keeping it right. You know what I mean? If I was to write about other things that I don't know about, you'd sense that. You'd be like, this chick is really trying really hard. And I'm not trying to try. I'm trying to be myself. So I think that's where the personal content comes from. It's hard. Plus, it's also my form of escape and my form of kind of therapy. So if something happens to me and I don't know how to process it, it's really difficult, I'll write about it. And that's how I kind of get out, you know, negative things that happen to me in a positive, productive way.
Well, out of all the songs on the album, which one would you say was the most personal?
Wow, that's easy. To the Future. To the Future is definitely the most personal. We just shot a music video for it. I'm just kind of bugged to do that for 5 hours because the content's really kind of intense. And I'm hoping to tie that music video into a campaign to stop violence against women, so that even though it's kind of a serious song, it will have positive results from the fact that people are listening and relating to some stuff, because there's some really heavy stuff in there.
Well, you worked alongside some of hip-hop vets like Rod Digger, Terminology, Joel Ortiz. How would you describe that feeling? Was it like a sense of accomplishment? Like, how did you feel while working alongside them?
Some of them I recorded in the studio with. Rod Digger, I was there when she dropped her verse. Term, I was not. So it depends on who it was. It doesn't really sink in when you do it. So it's only after the fact that you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. I think the people that I was the most excited about, no diss to anybody, was my Canadian brethren. Maestro Fresh West, especially, and Tona, because I grew up, I was 8 years old lip syncing to Maestro Fresh West songs. So to me, that was huge. And I was very excited when I was in the studio with Rod Digger. I definitely had a pinch me moment. I was like, this is kind of bug. I used to listen to her when I was in high school, I looked up to her. So people like that definitely, you kind of stop for a second, you take stock and you think to yourself, don't forget this moment.
So like an epiphany kind of.
Yeah, don't forget this moment. This is cool, If I never rap again, this is a cool moment, Fan moment for sure.
Well, lately Canada's been shining, booming. You have the Drake, the Boy Wonder.
Yeah. Shout out to Rich Kid doing his thing. My sister Jessica Kaya.
Yeah, I heard the songs you guys have on the album together. What makes Canadian artists different from artists here?
I'm gonna be generalizing, so there's always exceptions. I don't want to stereotype, but generally Canadians, they don't talk themselves up as much, so they're more about their product than they are about selling it. So we've never been big on marketing ourselves. We're not like, yo, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. We just hope that people will actually find our music and like it. And me and Moss, definitely compared to a lot of other people I know, are not really the hard sellers. We'd rather you just like it if you like it and don't if you don't. And I think that's one thing about Canadians across the board, is they just let the work speak for themselves.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of people saying that there's a lack of real female MCs in the game right now, so how would you improve that?
I think that's an incorrect statement. The only way that is accurate if you're looking at mainstream, so commercial, top 10, you're right, Billboard charts, it's Nicki, which is cool. I'm glad there's at least one girl up there. But when it comes to female MCs in existence, recording, dropping albums, doing shows, there is a bunch in every city. Literally, it's just we're not, for whatever reason, being held to status spirits, household names. So, for people that say that, I would just say, Google. Type in female MC and see what comes up, because I guarantee you a lot more than what you thought will come up. Straight up.
What artists would you like to work with in the future, in the near future?
I'm not allowed to give you my whole hit list. It's almost like when you make a dream and then you say it out loud and then it's not, or a wish, pardon me, when you make a wish. I can tell you one.
Okay, one song.
And he knows, so I can tell you. I would really like to work with Brother Ali. And we connected this summer at Splash Festival in Germany. I gave him my album, it was a promo copy. Yo, 1 hour later he was tweeting about the album. Literally, I gave it to him and he was listening to it an hour later. And that is called, that's just how you want things to happen, especially with people that you admire. And I always admire Brother Ali, so one day I think and hope maybe we'll do a track together.
Well, what can we look forward to from you?
Well, I'm touring my ass off. Planning on hitting, hopefully, Europe, Australia, and the US in the next year, and of course Canada. Working on a new project, but I'm not in a rush to drop a new album because it took 3 years out of my life to do At Last, and so I want to make sure that At Last gets what it deserves first. Then we can move on to the next thing. But definitely still doing collabs and still, doing stuff like this. So I thank you, thank Amalgam Digital. And really, it's God only knows, We'll see what happens.
Well, I just want to say thank you. I want to give a shout out or tell people where they can reach you.
I want to shout out Kadeja. Can I call you the intern?
Yes.
But in a good way. This is the official intern. You should aspire to be like this, alright? Shout out to Amalgam Digital. Shout out to Boston. This is the first time I've been here since, I don't know, ever. And Moss, At Last, Fat Beats. If you haven't heard the album, what are you waiting for? Reserve your judgment until you listen, and when you listen, I promise you will be happy you did. And that's Eternia signing off.